good to see everybody here today. We'll wait for a couple more people to get in. Um, Great to be here with Joy Seitz, and definitely want to welcome you to Solar Slopes. I'm Dean Caravalotti. I'm your host today, and I also am the Chief Revenue Officer over at Solar Insure. And really today we're going to talk to Joy about her journey at American Solar and Roofing and what she has been able to accomplish. Her journey has taken her from a solar foundation into roofing and also solar service on the back end. And she's really positioned herself in her market as an energy service provider, one that's trusted and one that really stands out and that her community looks to when they need roofing and solar. So, Joy, it's great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who might not know who you are and a little anything about American Solar and Roofing, could you please just briefly tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Yes. So, Joy Seitz, CEO of American Solar and Roofing. I've been in the solar industry for 16 years, and I've been leading as CEO for 12 of those years and nearly 13, I believe. And so I came into solar through the way of policy. So if you know me, you know my conversations that I have on my social advocating for solar. I used to work in a lobbying firm for 3 or 4 years, helping local and national entities on their lobbying efforts here in Arizona. Then before that, another marker was I was involved in venture capital. So private equity, venture capital, understanding. And I did that. I worked in that office for 4 years. And so I got to sit at the table while the principals and the funders, were deciding on who gets funding, who doesn't, and the journey of that. So I've had an interesting journey on different business types that has allowed me to bring that expertise into my company.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for giving us a background on you and also on American Solar and Roofing and your journey there. Now, let's get right into it because a lot of stuff's happening. We're in a major market shift right now, and we see that the ITC is going away. And let me ask you, I know you're in commercial and residential, some residential solar. How has your messaging changed since we're having this big shift in the market?
Yes. Well, it started with when I first realized. So, again, I've been in policy. So, probably 2 months before the ITC was voted on and the 25D went away, um, I broke down crying and realized that, this was over. And a lot of the sales practices for our company and so many companies nationally have always been like, hey, let's save on your utility bill and oh, congratulations, you have a tax credit. And so as soon as I realized that the tax credit was over, it made me as the visionary of the company and the branding and the messaging person. That is my job within the company, is to figure out how do we go back into a community. So I first started talking to some folks, and now my demographic, we do not do leasing. We've never done leasing. And so we serve the folks that can bring their own money or get loans. And so shockingly, a lot of them didn't even really realize that the tax credit existed. So the first thing I realized was, well, it's probably just me who feels really sad that the ITC has gone away. So me and my team, we need to get over this loss and we need to realize there's still value in solar. And so once I went through that emotional journey in the morning of losing it and when I watched the vote on the television as it was happening, just losing everything that we've all been fighting for climate change, solutions. I just moved to the new messaging of solar is bigger than just a kilowatt hour cost or reduction. It's bigger than an ROI. It's bigger than a tax credit. It's really just about a purpose. And so figuring out So my team and I just dug deep, kind of just started figuring out ways to change our messaging from utilitarian, like, hey, again, tax credit, to more of a core value. So there are customers out there who, really want solar because they want to have control, right? That is a core value. There are customers out there who want to do solar because they want to protect their family. So now we're putting providing for protection. And so my team, even currently today, even the people that write my blogs, et cetera, everybody is now pivoting from a really utilitarian conversation of just do solar to save money to a bigger conversation of what's your core values? How are you living your life? And how do we message that out going into 26 and beyond? And then also just removing the ROA conversation from our book sales book. So we have moved to, again, just connecting with that customer, figuring out that why, and being able to deliver them everything that they want from a emotional standpoint and a core value standpoint. Oh, and by the way, you're going to save money on your utility bill. So feels like a long journey, but so thanks for the patience on that.
No, no, that's great. I think that's the way to go, right? Be able to provide value for them, help them reach their goals, and finding out what those are and being more of a consultative approach, and really not having to rely on the ITC or any other incentives because solar and storage both really have value in themselves. Um,
Right.
yeah, yeah, I love it. Yeah, so let me ask you. I know that your company started out in commercial solar, but again then diversified into roofing and solar service, right? And servicing other people's systems. What really triggered that shift?
Well, in 2001, when we started in Arizona, our company will be 25 years old. Our company will be 25 years old in January 3rd. And so there was no tax credit, right? There was no incentive program. There was no state tax credit. There was no distributed solar. There was no grid tied solar. And so the first people we started serving were the utilities or commercial, like off grid, that kind of saw value in that. And so that's how we started. And then as the industry, the founders of our company and other industry advocates got together, worked with our utility partners, our PUC, the Corporation Commission, built solar programs, built an incentive program. That's how then we got into residential, because we built the programs for it, the state tax credit, all of that. Um, and then in 2008, 2009, when the recession was hitting, then a lot of those commercial jobs started that we were working on, including universities and big commercial projects. They kind of pulled back. And so for about 2 years, but the incentives were so high in 2008, 9, 10 in Arizona, it was still like we were order takers. And so then the company, I was not leading the company at the time. The company decided to go strictly residential. Truck rolls are easier. The pipeline to close is faster. It's more simplified in the quoting process. And so then we strictly stuck with residential. And then when we started getting the pushback from the utilities in about 14, 15, which is when I took over, we already had now a book of business since 2001. And then about 2005 is when we started doing resi. So we now had a book of business for about 10 years that said, hey, we need our roof redone. Will you do it? Or, hey, I have a neighbor who needs their roof done. Will you do it? And so I joke and say, I just got tired of saying no to business and, figured that out. So we had a couple roofers already in house. We got our roofing license in 2008, even before we were doing roofing, but that was just so we had an understanding of how to do penetrations into the roof deck for solar in a much more efficient and watertight way. And so then I came in and kind of drowned it as CEO to figure out what was going on. I had to right size my company. And so 3 years ago is when I said, hey, do you think I should do it? to a couple friends of mine, and they were my hype men, as now I'm going to define them. They're my hype men. And they were like, of course you should do commercial. Like, why wouldn't you do commercial? You're a very good organized contractor. And so then just saying you should do it, I was like, yeah, I should do it. So then I partnered with um, them as my allies because they were in the roofing segment of the industry. And I partnered with other commercial folks in the solar space. And this is not only from a partners, but also manufacturing partners. If you're a good contractor, these manufacturers have great people who will come beside you. If you understand the technique, they'll teach you, hey, this product does this and this product does that. It's amazing just how much collaboration I received from again my distribution and my manufacturing partners. And then for service, so again, I'm the second CEO. The first CEO, the founder, is had a kind of a founder mentality. When I worked in venture capital, I heard about the founder syndrome, and the founder syndrome is when you start a company, you kind of want to do it that way forever. And sometimes founders can get in the way of themselves. And so if I would have talked to the founders, they would have been like, oh no, we're going to do service for free forever. Like they couldn't even imagine having solar fail. Then I came in, I'm like, what are you, silly? Like, I joke, I'm not Mother Teresa. Like, I'm not a nonprofit here. Like, I have to make money. We can't just truck roll, especially if it's not our fault. And so I worked with my now COO for a couple years on really developing a service department that now brings in, I'm on track this year to do over $1 million. I wouldn't be surprised if I do 1.5 million in service. And when I say service, this is just inverters, um, or inverter swaps, maybe some rewires if they had some bird issues or critter issues, and just inspections of like, hey, tell me that it works. So it's shocking, right? How much money just we're able to do in that one department. But then it allows us to make connections to our customers to upsell them. Now they need roofing. Now they might need monitoring. Now they might need like other solar tubes, attic fans that we're now on track to build into the servicing department. So that's the journey on how. Oh, and and then in commercial, we're also helping a lot of orphaned customers and residential. A lot of orphaned entities that are now invested in the asset and they want to maintain it, and partnering with my and really linking arms with my construction team and my engineering team to understand how to, in a profitable way, solve their problem and being really honest about it. Like I now do sometimes the jobs are so complicated, I do them in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 because I just don't know what I'm going to get into. Once I solve this problem, what am I going to get into? Like if I bring your inverters up, now I'm going to find out half your modules are disconnected. Now I'm going to have to fix that, and that's another, phase that I'm going to have to do. So just a lot of tweaking that we've had to do as a company as we've evolved.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love how you diversified in from commercial into residential and then into service and also being able to do the roofing. And usually, you didn't make those changes in expansions just for expansion's sake. You're making them because there's a real need. There was a need within your community, within your customer base that needed this. And now you've made a profitable business out of it. And that's just amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as, what lessons have you learned when I know there's probably some lessons learned, right? When you have these different intersecting businesses that are all working together.
hmm
What are some of the lessons that you might have learned?
Yeah. The lessons that I've learned first starting out, eh, moving from one trade to another, complicated. Like you think you're just in construction, you're not. It's complicated. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to lose money. Um, sometimes I have to work with subs on the roofing. Subs can be complicated. I'm an ethical contractor. I don't know why anybody else wouldn't be ethical. Turns out they're not. So putting processes into place so that you do deliver on that. Other lessons I've learned is, again, being just dead on. When you have for me on service, when you have a complicated project, you have to just be honest about that. And if those customers aren't willing to understand that, I mean, we just walked into a home, probably has like 150. It's a huge house, 150, 100 to 150 mods, um, 3 battery systems. Half the mods are off. There's technology on there that I don't even know if there's warranty to it. But this person is remodeling their home with another developer, and they're like, "Well, how are you going to solve it?" And I'm like, I mean, literally, I'm at like a 3 phase of like, I can't just tell you a price and then just crack into it, because if I did, I know that I would let them down and I know I would lose money. So I had to be very honest with the developer, and so that they were honest with the customer, because now we're building a relationship of like, I think if we do this, this will happen, which will be great, and then this will happen. But if it doesn't happen, then we have to come back to the drawing board, and all of that I have to get paid for. And so just understanding my value. I joke with my project managers and my installers all the time. I'm like, y'all are more valuable than my lawyers at this point. Like this is a very this is when you're doing cervix, especially at a higher level or a more complicated. That was a residential job, right? So even
Yeah.
residential jobs can get complicated. You have to have a really trusting relationship. And so that was another lesson that I've learned is, for me to go far, I have to really have a vulnerable, trusting uh, relationship with all of my teams. And I have to, I have to be out I have to go out and I have to walk that job, right? Like if you're not hitting, I have to go out on that job, walk it and understand why they're not hitting so I can be a partner to them to figure out how to do it better next time. We all bring our different superpowers. So yeah, just,
Absolutely.
and I guess, yeah, for me, again, as the second CEO that wasn't the founder, I had to learn, I had to learn and fall and just scrape my knees and just tumble. And I wish it would have gone faster, but here we are. So just, I had to be okay with not being liked. I had to be okay with bad Glassdoor reviews, like all the lessons that I had to learn as a leader, because I was having to break things that culturally weren't working for the company anymore to go further. So if that's how any company grows, and being okay that sometimes those people don't like that, but it's gonna have to be broken to be fixed again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like, solar installation and solar service are very connected, but they have their own unique skills, right, that need to be taken in SOPs, right? So, being able to navigate that within your business, along with the roofing, you've definitely had to, like you said, you had to like scrape your knees. It took some grit, right, to be able to get through that, make some mistakes, but definitely, uh, that's how you got here, right? So that's pretty awesome.
I would take like 50% less bumps and bruises. I always say that. I was like, Red's like, "Oh, it's great, but you got you here." I'm like, "Yeah, I could have like,
Yeah.
not had as many issues, but hey, here we are."
Yeah. Now this takes me to a question here that like as you grow and as you intermingle these different types of services within your business, what systems have you set up, or do you use a certain system to keep organized and to keep the project flow?
Yes, I use systems for project flow, but I also use systems at a company level. So systems at a company level, I will scream it from the rooftops that EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System, saved my life. I did not know when I first started this that I was not an operational CEO, that I am a visionary CEO. I am the person who, again, sees the future. I'm the person that is fine making a prediction with no data, right? Like me and engineers don't like engineers hate me because I can't bring data to my hypothesis, right? So sometimes I'll get into conversations, on LinkedIn, and they're like, "How do you know?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have no data, but I'm just saying that this is probably how it's going to happen." So EOS allowed me to identify that I was more of that visionary, can see around corners better than other people. Whereas an integrator or a COO, for me, is somebody who can operationalize my vision. And so EOS allowed me to slow down, get my vision, my 1 year, 3 year, and 10 year put together so that I can translate that to everyone in the teams. Right. It comes with there is not one thing that EOS doesn't offer to you as a business owner trying to operationalize it. From how do you do quarterly conversations with staff? How do you hire them? How do you fire on that? How do you hold people accountable through KPIs? How do you run meetings efficiently? So again, I had a hype woman who introduced me to that and said, "Hey, as soon as you can put some money together, I recommend you bringing in EOS and having an implementer train you on it." And I couldn't live now without my implementer. And so that's how I've operationalized my company, that I know that I can step away and allow those people to do their job without me micromanaging it, and then scaling on it because there is a clear roadmap of where we want to go. And then as for how I operationalize just construction, we still use we still use like a physical board for all of our jobs, from roofing from roofing, residential, commercial, not service, but all of our bigger residential jobs. So we're big enough, small enough to still do that. But we also use Salesforce. That was another big project that I took on when I first took over as CEO. Is I developed our entire Salesforce. So from inbound call, my appointment setter, all the way to service, every single thing is documented. So I could like sell that layout to anybody. Automation of emails, and consistency there. So and that overlays just with project management meeting weekly on job forecasting, etc. With
Yeah,
all.
that's awesome. So it seems like having that discipline, having the systems in place, the IT, right, and building all of that really is what truly separates a company that's in it for the long run than those that are in it for like a gold rush, right, to try to make as much profit as they can and get in and get out. And you truly have separated yourself in your market.
And that
And-
EOM,
Mhm.
excuse me, the
Sure.
Salesforce system is allowing me to make that revenue in service. If I wouldn't have, and it came before me. Our company started working with Salesforce in 2007. I just made it workable for to leveling it up in 14, 15. And so, but if we wouldn't have had just that data even collected of what type of inverter did we install, back in 7 and 8, we wouldn't be where we are in 2025, nearly 2026, of owning all of our book of business and being able to communicate to them.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And if you're listening and you're not doing that, you need to start doing that. Making sure that you have that in your business. Any solar executives out there now, um, you know, roofing, service, solar, commercial, residential, they all have different skill sets, right? How have you cross-trained anyone and brought people up within your business to help lead in those departments? And
Yeah.
how it's recruiting, right, been for you?
Yes, 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 yes. In January, I sat with my construction team and I said, "Hey, y'all, if we're going to do really big things, I need us to all feel like we're on a team in the National Guard. I need you to feel like a fireman. I serve as the chair of the fire prevention board for the city of Phoenix Fire Department. And like firemen can like put out a fire, but they can also save a cat. They can deal with like tilting, big antennas in somebody's backyard, right? Like when firemen, firewomen go onto a job, they're having to show up and be like, what do we do here? Right? Everything is different. And they're trained to be prepared for that. And so I said the same thing to my team. Like, if we're going to do these big, hairy, audacious goals, we need to all be more malleable to be able to flow through it, because it's not like I have an entire, I am not large enough right now in the commercial space, whether it's residential, or excuse me, whether it's roofing, O&M, or new projects, because I'm just now building that book of business. So I'm not large enough to have an entire sales team, construction team, operations team dedicated to that, right? So my team, again, through EOS, through forecasting it, through planning with it, through having hard conversations, vulnerable conversations, I said, and and a lot of my construction team had worked for me, left, done work with other people, and then came back to me. And so they had experience with storage, with commercial, with, things that I maybe haven't had as much. And so, okay, I'm going to go find the business. Can we all do that together? They said yes. And so now, um, that was very important, was setting the groundwork that they would buy in to whatever you bring us, Joy, we'll figure it out. Okay, great. And then they had to drive that into the service techs, even the service techs. Hey, if you're on the job fixing an inverter, I need you to get up on the roof and pull a couple tiles and see if their roof underlayment is shot. And if it is, get that back into sales, right? So that cross communication. If the customer says something to you, how are you responding? I'm even training my service team of like reverse did you knows of like, hey, like, did you know that we have a roofing department? Oh, you didn't? Okay, yeah, just think of us, right? So I'm having to cross train even the technical person who just wants to murder me for asking them to sell, that you could do a soft sell, right? You could just be like, hey, did you know we did this? Did you know we did that? Hey, think about us. Did you know we have a referral program? So we're, again, having to cross train technically. I guess my last example, I had a solar crew lead who got trained on all things solar. Then he became a solar project manager. And then I was like, hey, we had somebody leave our company on the roofing side. I'm like, hey, do you want to take this on and like figure out roofing? And he didn't know anything. So I put him through some TRI training and partnered him with my manufacturers and partnered him with a good roofing consultant here. And he's been doing that for 2 years. And now he's like, I love roofing. He like loves roofing more than he loves solar. So now he's just all in on roofing and developing himself and his teams in roofing. So it's just being willing to give the chance to be able to do it. With all of that being said, I'm allowed to do it because I have a good base of work that allows me to test in small bite-sized things. I didn't just take this stuff on, right? Like I was like, okay, I'm going to try it once and like, let's learn all these lessons. And I'm going to do it with the right client who I got paid really well on. So if I make mistakes, I'm not going to lose money. So all of that was a very thoughtful, diligent throughout my entire team. And then I'm just on it with like white on rice to figure out what works, what doesn't, so we can rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I love it.
So
I think like you're making great points. Like number one is training and cross training. And it's a difference between a company that grows fast to a company who grows deliberately. And then the people within the company grow with the company at the same time. And you're really helping your customer base know more about what you do. And I love your 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 example of a technician and being able to say, did you know? Those are all great points. I love that. Um, so as far as your more companies are right now looking to diversify in service. And you mentioned servicing orphan systems, right? Or systems that the original contractor is no longer servicing. Um, how how has that helped your business? I know you talked a little bit about it, but um, has it has it been any help to you in your business?
yeah, I mean, so our purpose as a company is affecting revolutionary change through our employees, customers, and community. The idea of knowing that there is a customer that wants their solar online and nobody was willing to take the risk to help hurts my soul. So, and that's the people who work for me, right? Like my construction worker, my construction team and my operations team have been with me for so long that they believe in that. Like doing a 15 kilowatt rinse and repeat new rinse and repeat, easy peasy Japanesey, right? Like they they're like, Joy, let's roll up our sleeves, right? Like they're bored by themselves of just doing the same thing over and over again. So again, I have the culture that allowed us to open up a hornet's nest, because opening up I've been sued, right? That ain't fun. Like, I'm still in the middle of a lawsuit where I did nothing wrong, but hey, I'm getting sued, right? Um, so this is not for the faint of heart. So again, you have to have that culture and you have to have your processes, and then you want to start out slow. And you want to figure it out. And so again, I think in my opinion, like how it's helped me is I started small and residential with my team, and going into situations I'm like, oh, where then we learned all the icks of how that makes you feel, of like we failed here or we lost money there. And then we all learned together, which then allows me to take over, a project, a CNI project that has 3,000 modules on it, right? So now starting with a 20 module resi is allowing it 7, 12, however many years ago, right? Mentally is allowing me to do very large projects with my team because the trust. So it's built trust. I think it makes my employees happy to stay with me because they're like, yeah, let's take on more. Like they're excited by that. So I'm like, okay, great, let's go do that. And I'm not doing it, right? Like, so I have to have my teams that want to do that with me. And that's exciting, I think, for all of us at play, and they see a future in it. Honestly, while they see their other friends being laid off from solar installers that have done it fast, right? Like I did it slowly. I'm not the biggest and I don't roll as many trucks as, some have in our community. And so there was a time in which I competed with that with my staff. But now that I've stayed the course, those who've stuck with me are like, oh my God, thank God we stuck with you, because they kind of saw what could have happened.
Yeah, that's so invaluable. It takes, um, you know, a lot of work, right? And it really shows you as the beacon within your region, right? For all things solar, right? To be able to, for the community to look to you and your company for that. And,
Yeah.
that leads us right into another, layer of your story that's made a real mark. And with, you're registered and certified as a woman-owned, minority woman-owned business. And has this affected any way in your business for projects, partnerships, or opportunities?
Not that I would, none that somebody said, hey, I'm hiring you because you're woman owned and there's on there. I have had residential customers, women-owned homeowners that were really excited when they found out that I owned it. I have customers who are, again, my hype man who loves that I am a part of it. But I became certified honestly because the narrative I told myself was that I was counted out as a female. I took over a company that was the original solar installer in Arizona, and many people know my founders, and my founders deserve the utmost respect for that. And so that when the company wasn't doing well and I had to take over, there was a there was a lot of negativity around that. And so I had to hold my head up high and know that I could get through it. But at the same time, I had to stay small so that people weren't watching as I was having to make the moves that I had to make. And I couldn't get humble because what if it failed? So honestly, after I saw everybody who came after me, and again, this is a mental game for me. Could not even be real. Who knows? But after I saved the company, started scaling the company, I started figuring it all out. It just was a point of pride for me. Like, I am a woman owned business. It is not in name only. There is no man that is next to me making decisions. I make all those decisions. And I take great pride in that because that's all earned. That was not given. You know, that's I can cry about it. Those are all earned. And so that's why I was proud of that certification. And now I mean, am I on the list? I am, but I haven't even had time to go figure out how to use it.
Yeah, well, that's cool. You're inspiring a lot of people out there, and just keep it up
Thank you.
for sure. And I was wondering, how does diversifying your business from commercial solar, residential solar, roofing, and into the service, how does that help you within the community?
hmm Well, it helps me because, especially in the commercial side, like I came in because I came into a commercial job recently where they had solar that was trapping the roof, and the solar person would show up and say, "Sure, here's a big chart, big invoice, but go find the roofer." And then the roofer would show up and be like, "Here's a big invoice. Now go find the solar room, installer to take it off." And so the customer had active leaks and was looking for a couple years, could not find somebody. It was randomly at a holiday party, and they said, "Hey, would you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, again, sure." And I run back to my team. I'm like, "We could do this, right?" They're like, "Yeah." Um, and so, that we did great work there, over delivered on everything. And the CEO loves me. And so now there's other buildings that do not have solar on it at all, but they're like, "You're now my roofer." And then they had even smaller buildings that have leaks, and they're like, "You're now my roofer." And then they referred me over to another church that needed solar. And so, um, doing doing different things is allowing me to broaden the offerings in which I can give to the customers that love us. I am not working with customers that do not love me. I I would say 60% of my business is referral or return customers. And so I'm only working with people who love me. I am only working with people who value me and will pay me what we deserve. Um, and so it just is allowing me to say yes when that customer is like, "Hey, okay, now I have this problem." Like I said, now I'm like now we're probably going back out to all of my customers because I have a lot of customers who want to monitor their load. Okay, well, how am I doing an electrical upgrade on you? Right? Maybe it doesn't need it technically, but they need it emotionally. They're travel more. They want to know their load. They want to know what's going on. Well, then let's give you, a good service upgrade with that, software built in that lets you do that from Europe, wherever you are. And so it's allowing, again, just we all know that customer acquisition costs are high. And so if you can go back and deliver and be in community and then do a reverse, did you know, do you know that your neighbor has tiles that are all broken, and I can help them? Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, I'll let them know. Okay, great. Right. Then I'm in that community and I'm serving and I'm doing neighborhood, neighborhood, neighborhood. And that's just how we do it.
That's awesome. Like getting referred at a holiday party, it's is great. And that's the kind of leadership in the community that like you just said, where it led to referral and helping people that couldn't find help, right? And solving for what they need. It's so important nowadays. And then obviously in the meantime, you're creating raving fans for for your business. And it's really just gonna continue to exponentially grow. Now, let's shift a little bit to kind of like, because people are looking to diversify. There's a lot of residential installers looking at commercial, and I know when we talked about this, commercial projects usually have a longer sales cycle, and I there's maybe a little bit of a um, misnomer that commercial solar projects aren't profitable. But what's your playbook when it comes to balancing the profitability and growth within that segment? What advice would you give?
Well, my playbook is go slow. So again, I'm just now starting out. I know there are other people in my market who have done it more than me. But so my playbook is go slow. If you're just now starting out, which is me, I'm going slow. I am partnering with my distribution partners, which is Baywalk. I am partnering with thought leaders, even like, y'all's company and your CEO. I'm partnering with people and I'm really understanding it. And I'm understanding which projects are good and which projects are bad. And then, and that's the same case with roofing. Like, I'm understanding the needs of the customers, their current layout, what they're wanting, and how they're planning on, actioning on it. So go slow. Again, be really close to your team that's quoting it. So my role in the company is visionary, setting it out, being out in the community, shaking hands, kissing babies. But then I also own commercial development. Again, because I don't want to pay respectfully this person who costs a lot of money because that salesperson is very expensive. A commercial salesperson is very expensive. And my experience is as an owner, is that they're not going to drive on it as an owner like you do. And so I wanted to be, so I am boots on the ground, doing all the work, um, getting all of the business and holding it. And in my head, I want to do about 15 to 30 million in commercial before I actually exit it completely. So again, that's my strategy as I'm leading myself and my team today. And then just having the understanding of pricing. Now, granted, again, we have done a long time ago through the founder, and he's still in the company in sales. Like we've done commercial, we've done big parking structures, we've done big, Frito-Lay type stuff. We've done a lot. So there is a lot there, but it's just going slow again and making sure that we price it correctly. We have the right partners and we have the right client, and the client knows what they want and what they want to deliver on.
Yeah, I
Big methodology.
yeah, I can appreciate it because that's a lot what a lot of executives struggle with trying to balance within that, making sure that between the balance between ambition and being sustainable, right, and profitable.
Right. I'll add to that. I am still very committed to understanding what my burn rate is so that I maintain the residential sales and the service sales to maintain my company and be able to still offer all the benefits that I do, right? While building the commercial side. So the commercial side is very scalpel as I'm trying to build that book of business. So it's probably what everybody does, but it was very important to me because if you're because there isn't a lot of money in commercial. All of a sudden, your bank account, you know, goes up by hundreds of thousands of dollars in a day. If you were a starving, ramen eating installer the day before, all of a sudden you think you're gonna want to take yourself out for, a steak dinner and buy yourself a Rolex, right? I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Right? Stay grounded in what you're doing and know that that money needs to be reinvested into your company to scale it and to, buy more fleet and get yourself out. And so those are all the conversations that I am having with my team and my CPAs on, okay, now what? Because we can do it, but then how do you scale on it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so we know the incentives are phasing out, right? So how can contractors and what levers can be pulled to stay competitive and still have a message that is enticing to commercial entity?
Yeah, commercial and residential or just commercial?
Oh, let's do both. Yeah, let's talk
Yeah,
about both. Yeah,
I mean, so I can only speak to Arizona where electricity rates are going up, right? Like so that's my experience in Arizona. So let's just start with electricity rates are up. And then also what I would say, I'll talk short term and long term. Short term, I mean, we just saw Georgia flip a couple seats. And the reason why it did that is because electric rates, PUC, like the regulatory commission. So for the first time ever, they've gotten somebody who's maybe more pro consumer. And so with that being said, but they ran on high electricity rates. High electricity rates is very real. Data centers is very real. There are a lot of customers who are very concerned in all states of will my electricity go up? And so I am meeting that concern and that anxiety and that conversation that's happening nationwide on what is AI going to do and how is that energy drain going to impact us, right? I'm meeting that conversation with also what's your core values as a customer and what are you really looking for, right? We don't need to ask the question anymore of do you want to go solar just to save money, right? We want to say to the customer, well, why do you want to go solar? And most of the time they want to go solar because they want to feel safe. They want to keep their family safe. They want to be in control. of their energy. They want to be in control of how they use their electricity, like on their phone. They think that's cool. They're techies, right? They could also be environmentalists that they believe that investing in solar is their shot across the bow of like, hey, this is a viable product. And so I'm also doing is really shifting how my salespeople get curious with our customers, to be able to figure out the why in it, because it isn't just the ITC. The ITC was the cherry on top, but it wasn't the why. People weren't like, oh my God, did you know there was a tax credit for solar? I must go solar because of that tax credit. No, people went from a flip phone to an iPhone because they needed their lives to get easier, right? Or maybe vice versa. They go from an iPhone to a flip phone because they see that their life is going to get better, right? They don't want to be found anymore. And so you're really reaching in as a solar company. I'm really reaching into the core values and the why, because it isn't the ITC. Um, and I mean, I was talking to many people and they didn't even know that the ITC existed, right? Like until you're kind of like, when you think about bringing on new clients, they're in the top of the funnel when you look at a marketing thing, right? And then you move them through the funnel and then you close the business. Top of the funnel, I still have customers who think that there is a tax credit an incentive from the utility, and that hasn't been around for 10 years. And then I have others who are like, oh, I didn't even know you could get a 30% tax credit. And so it's really just moving off that utilitarian kilowatt hour cost. I mean, you can do that, but it's a yes and because people aren't like they don't even know what a kilowatt hour is. So let's stop thinking they do.
Yeah, that's definitely a practical take, right? Go in with not assuming anything that the homeowner knows something, but finding out more in a more consultative way what their needs are and what their motivations are. So we need to move on to the next question. What do you see kind of like are the biggest opportunities when it comes to innovation, whether it's product mix, energy storage, or integrated roofing? What do you see the future of solar in your market?
None of it has to do with technology. It all, in my opinion, it all has to do with customer experience. Like we do have 16 years ago when I joined the solar industry, everybody was like, oh my God, that's so great. Do you love solar? Like, oh my gosh, that's so great that you're in it. 16 years later, I don't care where I am. When they ask me what I do, I say solar and they have a story and it ain't a good one. Um, and so, in my opinion, this is really about getting back into the customers. It is really about trust. It is really about the messaging. And it is really about those fundamentals. It does not matter. You can still make great money just doing solar and roofing, um, as long as you show up correctly and you keep showing up the same way, right? Rinse and repeat. Let's not think that just because this one thing went away that we still aren't a valuable resource and that people want to invest in.
Yeah, that's a great take, and I love putting the value, making sure you're adding value to them, and you're building trust with them, and that's just going to resonate throughout your market and your community. So, we're on almost out of time here. I just want to ask you one more question. What piece of advice would you give to anyone in the industry who, now that we've talked about all these things, diversifying or looking at getting into commercial solar or getting into solar service? What is your advice for them?
If you're planning on expanding, and you have 10 employees or more, if you're not, if you're, you, in my opinion, I would scream it from the rooftops. If you don't have a system like EOS, entrepreneurial operating, and I'm getting paid, I have no dog in this fight other than I want the right people to be able to keep serving customers. I mean, EOS changed my life. I mean, me having a very logical conversation with you on how I got to full failure and Glassdoor reviews to success is all because of grit and EOS and operationalizing it and sticking with the operationalizing of it. It is so easy if you're a visionary CEO listening or leader listening, it is so easy to want to go from one book to another book or go from one conference to another conference and think, oh my gosh, that seems reasonable. Oh my gosh, that seems reasonable. What I love about EOS is that it takes everything from all the good leadership books that we've, all read and all thought, oh, that's great. But how do you do that on you read it on a weekend or whatever, and then or on a plane, and then you try to implement it on a Monday, and then you have payroll problems on Thursday, and then that's all shot in the wind, right? So EOS, if you stick with it, I've been doing it now almost 4 or 5 years, 5 years almost. I mean, it's just life changing. It just allowed me to calmly sit here. And if you're an EOS company, the next time there's a change, you're not concerned. Like when I knew the ITC was going away and I was like, okay, well, let's just say solar dies. Like I knew I could walk into my construction team and my operations team and my sales team, and we could be like, are we going to sell doors or windows, or what are we doing here? Right. And they would be with me because that it created that culture that we were all together in it. And so again, having it go away, I am less nervous because of my team. And also, as I say, net metering for me went away, a long time ago, over 10 years ago. So I'm used to all of the ups and downs. If you're in a state that has never experienced this big of a cliff, it can feel really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you put that foundational system in place, and that's what helps drive your company through all the different market shifts. It's very practical to be able to do that. Now, Joy, I want to thank you so much for being on today and giving us your perspective on the diversifying and doing things. So let me ask you, how can people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you?
My LinkedIn that's where you can see my thoughts on the world and solar. So just I think it's Joy E Sites, but Joy, and I think I have my pink blade. I think the same shirt or same jacket we used on this picture is the same picture I currently have on LinkedIn.
All right.
And it's fully open, and I love helping people. And again, thank you so much. I know you were posting some stuff on how to help, and I'm like, hey, anytime I can share my experiences, just hit me up. So I appreciate everything that you do and helping and providing guidance to folks because it's hard. Running a business is hard, period. That's it. And so anything that I can do for anybody, even be a hype man, I will do that.
Yeah, awesome, Joy. And I think what really stands out to me is how you built growth around trust and diversification and the value in putting the customer first and looking for other ways that you could service the same customers that in their needs and growing your business around that. And obviously it didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of grit, right? Like we talked about before. And it really took a lot of effort, but you did get through that. You're example of a leader in your community and in your region. And for anyone listening, you want to scale your business, build resilience, and keep core values. There's a lot to look from this example and examples of others like Joy throughout the country. And listen to this conversation again if you missed any points or if you weren't here for the whole conversation. Feel free to share it with your colleagues for them to know. And really, it's been a pleasure having you here on Solar Slopes. And thanks everybody for joining us. So join us next time on Solar Slopes, where the leaders look and work together and on a peer-to-peer platform, really to be able to help each other navigate through the market shifts and what we call the solar coaster. And until next time, we'll see you all then. And thanks again, Joy. And thanks everyone for joining today.
Thank you.